the let's just set up the slideshow. That's not the version I want. Hang on, I need to stop the share for the moment. I need to turn off my other screen, unfortunately, because it's not showing properly. No, that's not going right. Let me try again.
So that, Janet, that's presenter view, or was. That's better.
Right. Okay. So when I first said that I could do this as a talk, I really said that pretty much off the cuff and just thought about the sort of things which I do at Handsworth. And it's only afterwards that I thought, well, how am I actually going to turn that into a presentation? So we'll see how this goes, and hopefully it'll all make sense as we go through it. So first of all, I'm going to talk about why we might want to do this. And then I'm going to cover 4 different ways of doing it. And then I'm going to summarize the plus and minus points for each method. So why would we want to do this? Firstly, because it can help us to understand method structure. Secondly, because it can help improve the fluency of recall. Some people learn better by doing things, and they can learn more through walking through a method than just by looking at a piece of paper. And it can be a fun activity to do as a group, which we have done on occasions. So the first method I've got is the single straight line, which I think most people have come across. Everybody stands in a straight line facing the same way. You have a conductor who stands facing the line, and then everybody swaps with a partner starting from the conductor's left. So if there's an even number of people, then everyone will have been able to swap with somebody. But if there is an odd number of people, then the person at the conductor's far right will not have moved. So next, if there is an even number of people, then the 2 at the 2 extremes stay still and all the internal pairs swap. Or if there is an odd number, then the person at the conductor's far left stays still and everyone else swaps. And you repeat these 2 actions as many times as you need to, until you get back to the starting position. If there are n people in the row, then it should take 2 times n changes to get back to the start. And this is effectively plain hunt on however many bells that you're choosing to do this. You could also use place notation to ring something else, but the conductor would have to have quite a lot of control over the people, and everybody would need to listen to what they were being told to do in order for us to actually get anywhere sensible. But let's do a demonstration of that. So here we've got 6 likely characters: Arthur, Claire, Tony, Simon, Phil, and Andy. And they're all standing in their row, and Arthur is at the left-hand end, as you can see, Andy at the right-hand end. So Arthur is the first person to go. We start with him. And he swaps with Claire. Tony and Simon swap. Phil and Andy swap. Then Claire and Phil stay put, and the 2 internal pairs swap. So Arthur and Simon swap, Tony and Andy swap. Then everybody swaps. So Simon and Claire, Arthur and Andy, Phil and Tony. And we go on through this until we get all the way through and we get back to our starting position. And here are all those rows, one above the other. Now, if you look at this, if you look at Arthur's picture in the top left, you can follow Arthur's photograph as it goes across to the right, does 2 blows at the far right, and then goes across to the left, back down to lead. And you can see that quite clearly. It's got a slightly darker pattern, so it stands out a bit more. But you can do that with any of the people here, and you can follow their pattern. And if you don't happen to have 6 spare people, you can do this by any sort of objects that you might happen to have around. So you can do it with toy animals or different types of fruit or anything you happen to have. So my second layout is the oval layout, which is similar to the single straight line. You stand your 6 people in a straight line, all facing the same way, and number the people from the left-hand end as seen by the conductor facing the line. Then ask all the even-numbered people to turn and face the opposite way. And everyone takes a step back now, so you have 2 parallel lines facing each other. You can actually now hold hands in an oval shape if you wish, and you can walk plain hunt as you did before. So here's the layout. So again, we've got Arthur, Claire, Tony, Simon, Phil, and Andy. And the point I want to make here is that the rectangle which Arthur's photograph is in is representing leading or first place, but so does the empty rectangle underneath him is also representing a lead. So Claire's photograph in that rectangle, she's in second place, but the empty rectangle above her also represents second place. So you can see that the 6 ringers are all around the oval shape, but they actually ring according to their column from left to right. So the order they would ring in here is Arthur, Claire, Tony, Simon, Phil, and Andy. And when we talk about ringing here, I didn't say this in the previous one, perhaps people have got a handbell, perhaps they call out their number, or perhaps they call out their name, however you want to accentuate the order. So Arthur is first, Claire is second, Tony is third, Simon is fourth, Phil is fifth, and Andy is sixth. And again, Arthur and Claire are going to swap, Tony and Simon are going to swap, Phil and Andy are going to swap. So they would ring now in the order Claire, Arthur, Simon, Tony, Andy, Phil. Now Claire is going to stay at lead, Phil is going to stay lying behind. So Claire has moved, but she's still leading. She's gone on to the top row now. Phil is still lying behind, but he's now moved to the bottom row. And the 2 internal pairs have swapped. And what we can see now is that Arthur is beginning to move along the top row as he goes out to the back. And Andy is moving along the bottom row as he goes down to the front. But they are also following people round in the order of the oval. So as they go round the oval, Claire is following Arthur, Simon is following Claire, Andy's following Simon, Phil is following Andy, Tony's following Phil, as they go round the circuit. That's not the order they ring in. They're ringing in the order Andy, Simon, Phil, Claire, Tony, Arthur, but they're following each other round the circuit. And as they go out to the back, they go along the top, and as they go down to the front, they go along the bottom. Until we get back to Arthur leading and Claire in second place and so on. And what this oval shape is demonstrating is the coursing order. Very simply, I'm sure other people are going to cover coursing orders in other talks, but just at a very entrance level, this is what the coursing order is. It's the order that you follow your other people round the circuit. And that leads us to our first grid layout, where we have a grid of 2 parallel lines of numbers, and you go from 1 to 6 along the top to get out to the back, and from 6 to 1 along the bottom to get down to the front. Now, what happens if we change the place notation? I think most people came and listened to my talk on place notation the other week, and we discussed that the place notation for plain hunt on 6 is cross 1 6, which is repeated until we get back to rounds. But what happens if you use 1 6 cross instead? So we've got everybody ringing the same bells again, Arthur's first, Claire second, and so on. But this time, instead of Arthur crossing with Claire, Arthur is going to stay at lead, and Claire is going to swap with Tony, Simon with Phil, and Andy will stay in 6th place. So Arthur has now gone onto the bottom row, and Claire started moving from left to right along the bottom row, and Phil and Tony have moved from right to left along the top row. And as we continue, you can see that they're continuing round the circuit, but they're going the opposite way round to the way they went round before. And what this is called is wrong hunting. You're going the wrong way round. And the effect it has is that when you're leading and lying behind, your first blow at lead is a backstroke, your second blow at lead is a handstroke, and the same when lying behind on 6 bells. And it means that you're going round the wrong way round the circuit. But our grid layout said if you were going up to the back, you had to go along the top. And if you were going down to the front, you had to go along the bottom. So we can modify that to say, if you're hunting right, you go out to the back along the top. But if you're hunting wrong, you go down to the front along the top. And similarly, if you're going along the bottom row, if you're hunting right, you go from right to left. And if you're hunting wrong, you go from left to right. So why is knowing whether you're hunting right or wrong useful? I've just spotted my typo there. I will correct that later. Well, this is useful in methods like Stedman, London and Bristol, which have wrong hunting. And if you know whether you're hunting right or wrong, it gives you a great understanding of what's going on. In London and Bristol, you have to be right hunting when you meet the treble, as the treble never hunts wrong. And in Stedman, you always have to be right hunting when you get out to 4-5. So if you know whether you're right or wrong hunting, it helps you to know whether you're doing the work correctly, which can lead to greater confidence. And greater confidence can lead to better striking, which is particularly important when leading in Stedman. So I'm going to do a little video now of demonstrating how this grid system shows up right and wrong hunting. So let's hope this works okay. Right, so in this case, the red numbers on the left represent the top row of the grid, and the black numbers represent the bottom row of the grid. So to do this demonstration, I'm going to do it from the point of view of the 4 in Stedman. So the first thing going to have to do is get to the correct place. And as we saw before, the 4 starts on the bottom row, that is the black numbers. So I'm going to the black 4. Now I'm going to start ringing Stedman. This starts with 1 blow in 5ths and then 1 blow back in 4ths. Down into 3rd place, so far so good. I'm going the right way round. But now I'm going to do another blow in 3rd place. So I go on to the red numbers. Then I go into 2nd place and on to lead. So now I'm coming down the wrong side of the grid. I now lead for another blow. So I'm leading again. And then I do 1 blow in 2nd place. Then back to lead and lead again. Now I'm going to go up to 3rd place. And I'm going the right way round. I'm going clockwise. When I get back to lead, I do just one blow, and then I go back up to thirds place. I'm going the wrong way round now. When I get back down to lead, I'm going to do just one blow and then go back up to thirds place. And I'm now going the right way round again. I'm going clockwise. Now I do another blow at lead, one blow in seconds, and back to lead for 2 blows. Now I'm going to go up to thirds place. But I have to be the right way round before I get up to the back, so I make a place. And now I can go up to the back and do my dodges. So, but I hear you say, I can't ring Stedman or Bristol, so what use is that to me? Well, that was really just a demonstration of right and wrong hunting. So I'm not expecting you all to be experts at ringing the front work of Stedman now, but we can modify this grid to be used for other methods. And now this brings me to grid layout 2, where the red numbers now represent the hand stroke and the black numbers represent the backstroke. So instead of putting both feet into a square to make a move, you just put one foot into a square to make a move. So you stand with so that your left foot is the hand stroke and your right foot is backstroke. Stand with your left foot on a red number and your right foot on the corresponding black number facing towards the 6s. The number you start from is your place bell. Marching on the spot represents ringing rounds. And you start off with your left foot when you move, because you're moving at hand stroke first of all. First time through, when you're having a go at a method, have your crib sheet with you to check what you're doing. You can analyse whether places are being made back and hand or hand and back. Dodges. Are you going forward with the left foot and back with the right, or vice versa? So for example, in Bob Minor, you would go forwards with the left and back with the right, which means you go forward at hand stroke and dodge back again at backstroke. But in Grancer, you're dodging in 4/5, so you go forward with your backstroke and back again with your hand stroke. So now, once you've done your first few walks through, you can try without the crib sheet and at increasing speed to gain fluency. You can even try on the stairs. If you want to see videos of it being done on the stairs, then I know Steve Askew has posted some on Facebook in the Bell Ringers page. So now I'm going to do, I've got my video of the grid layout 2, where I'm looking at plain hunt. So I'm going to use this to demonstrate plain hunt on different numbers of bells. So as I said, the red numbers now represent hand strokes and the black numbers are backstrokes. I'm going to ring the treble. So that means I'm going to have to stand on the 2 1s. First of all, I'm going to ring plain hunt on 2, followed by plain hunt on 4 and plain hunt on 6. So I'm starting on the 1s. By marching on the spot, I'm ringing rounds. Now I'm ringing plain hunt on 2. Lead, lead, seconds, seconds, lead, lead. So my first blow in seconds is a hand stroke, and my first blow at lead is also a hand stroke. Next, I'm going to ring plain hunt on 4. So I'm going all the way up to 4th place and back to lead. Seconds, thirds, fourths. My first blow in fourths is at hand stroke, and my second blow in fourths at backstroke. And back down to lead again, hand stroke and backstroke. Now I'm going to go all the way up to 6th place. And again, my first blow at line behind was at hand stroke, and back down to lead, hand stroke and backstroke. So what this shows is that if you're ringing plain hunt on an even number of bells, you will always lie behind hand stroke and backstroke. Now let's ring plain hunt on an odd number of bells. First of all, I'm going to go up to thirds place. Seconds, thirds. And my first blow in thirds is at backstroke, then hand stroke, back down to lead, hand and back. So I lie behind, back and hand, lead, hand and back. Now I'm going to go up to fifths place, seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths. And my first blow in fifths is at backstroke. Second blow is at hand stroke, back down to lead. Leading hand stroke and backstroke. What this shows that if you ring plain hunt on an odd number of bells, you will always lie behind, back and hand. And this is true if you're ringing on 7, 9 or on higher numbers. So my second video about grid layout version 2 is I'm going to demonstrate right and wrong places. So again, I'm going to use Stedman because this is a good demonstration of using this method to demonstrate right and wrong places. And I'm going to start on the 4. So again, I'm on the 2 4s and I'm marching on the spot to ring rounds. When I say go Stedman, my left foot will be the first to move and it will move at hand stroke to do 1 blow in fifths, then 4th stroke at backstroke, thirds place at hand. Then I do a second place in thirds. I then go down to the front. Seconds, lead, and I'm leading first at backstroke this time, and I lead again, hand stroke. I then do 1 blow in seconds place, and then I lead again, this time hand stroke first, then backstroke. Then I go up to thirds, and I make 2 blow in thirds, and I go down to lead and do 1 blow at hand stroke lead. I'm then going back up to thirds, and I make thirds, hand and back down to lead and 1 blow at lead at backstroke. Back up to thirds, make the place, back and hand this time, back down to lead, lead, hand and back. I do 1 blow in seconds and then lead again, back and hand. Then go seconds, thirds, second blow in thirds, and then I can go on out to the back to do my 4-5 dodges. So to summarize, what are these different methods useful for? The single straight line can be used with complete beginners. You don't even need to be a ringer to have a go at this. And it's used primarily for demonstrating plain hunt, though I can use it for demonstrating place notation. You don't need to use numbers. You can just give people a handbell or they can shout out their name. But on the other hand, you do need to have an external conductor. It's not so good for complex methods, and it needs 1 person per bell or per position. The oval method is useful for demonstrating coarse bells and demonstrating right and wrong hunting. It still needs to have an external conductor and needs 1 person per position. Grid layout version 1 is good for analysing complex methods, practising right and wrong places, and practising right and wrong hunting. You only need 1 person, but can have more if the grid is drawn big enough. In fact, if you've got a good sense of position, you can do it without a grid. And we've done it on holidays at various times and walked out methods with 8 of us. On the other hand, you do need to be aware of where your position is so that you don't fall off the end of the decking. It's not so good for beginners, and it's not very fluent method because you need to have both feet in the same square. So grid layout version 2 is good for developing fluency in method recall because you can go through things much more quickly. You also can highlight whether you're ringing at hand stroke or backstroke, but you can't have more than 1 person at a time on the grid. So, time for questions.
Okay, I've unmuted myself now. I did. Oh, some people
Everybody.
muted themselves, I think. I'm getting a bit confused. I'm unmuting and muting all over the place. But thank you, Janet. That's, I really enjoyed that. It brought back some memories of the holiday with the decking, of course. We were lucky that nobody ended up in A&E. Yeah, so if anybody has got questions for Janet, please shout up. Tony's been posting a few comments in the chat box for people, which I don't know whether people have been reading, but they're all useful comments that I would concur with. And his last comment about the PowerPoint being loaded up into the Guild resources on the website, that will happen as long as Janet's happy for that to happen. So has anybody got any questions for Janet? A deafening silence. It is quite good fun doing this walking changes. And a few years ago, we had a Birmingham School of Bell Ringing, sort of like a summer school that took place on the Isle of Wight, and we all stayed in a sort of what was like a mansion, a stately, self-catering mansion. And during that holiday, a group of us decided that we were going to ring a quarter that was a quarter peal of a doubles method that none of us had rung before. So we had some illustrious, an illustrious band member coming over to ring with us. So we thought we'd better know this method properly. So we actually spent the evening before walking this method out, and it was a little bit tricky because it did have some wrong hunting and right hunting in it, and it definitely helped us actually ringing the method once we actually were able to ring it on bells themselves. So that knowledge that there was that sort of those awkward changes of direction that we that can catch you out was really helpful. So anybody got anything they want to ask Janet, or is Janet?
I can see Sarah's question there. Yes, I think the left foot needs to be the hand stroke because it follows on from the other versions. Because I start off with looking at things from the conductor's point of view, that means that everything's looked at from the conductor's point of view, so it sort of follows on. But I would think if you're doing it by yourself, then you could choose to start with the right foot, but I think you need to be consistent which way you're doing it, because when I walk through things, I always start with my left foot, because that way I know my left foot is always a hand stroke. But you could do it the other way, but you'd need to be consistent about doing it.
Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, then I just.
I'm stunned.
I just wondered, Claire, if you've got a video of that Julie McDonald doubles.
I don't know, actually. I'll let me go into my phone.
So, some of them were quite comical.
They were. Do you think we videoed? Do you think we videoed it, Tony?
There were definitely a lot of videos. It's just whether you can find them.
Whether it was me that did it or not. So I think it was 2016, August 2016. I'm just looking at my phone now to see if there is anything. Right. But whether I can share it, yeah, I probably could if I can.
What was the date again?
It was August 2016, towards the end of that first week. Let's have a look. Aha, I do have a video.
I've got some.
Well, I'll race you to share one. But they're unedited, and we don't know whether most of the time these videos we collapsed into laughter.
Is that showing?
Yes.
Yeah. It is.
The whole new dance craze.
How people are swapping it.
That's a fire out.
Yes.
It's funny.
It's
So if you-
at some point we do sort of.
Yeah,
broadcast, but
It's gone seriously wrong there.
That's like the Monty Python Ministry of Silly Walks, or we've started again.
So at this point, everyone's each column's got one person in it, so it's all fine.
Yeah.
You can see the numbers on the floor. Oh, now it's gone wrong. Someone didn't move.
Yeah, and there's nobody in one of the positions, so.
Bit of head scratching going on.
Yeah. A bit of wandering around.
Then the recriminations.
So that is an example of it in action. That was just a doubles method as well. So there was only there were 5 of us doing that. But the time that Janet was referring to was actually we tried to ring 3 leads of Bristol Major on a decking in Devon somewhere, and at one point I remember bundling the treble down to lead because something had gone wrong, and I nearly ended up with a broken finger. But, so it is quite it's an amusing thing to do at bell ringers parties. Right. Okay. So it's well, there's little point in carrying on if everybody is happy with what we've done. So I'll close the meeting.
Is anyone going to try that on their own at home?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
you are going to try it. Well, and I was impressed with Janet's videos actually, because I did wonder how you were going to do this, Janet. You were. But and also I have to confess I did wonder how you were going to do this and make it interesting. But you've achieved on all counts, so thank you very much. Okay.
So that means I've got no more presentations to do now.
Not unless you want to give some more. And we've all enjoyed your presentations, both of you. The presentation that you've done. So
Is Margaret clapping or putting her hands up?